Peace to the family. I'm trying to get my lighting together. There we go. Peace to the family. Peace, love, and light. Welcome. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Family, welcome back. Greetings. Salute. Welcome. What's good with y'all? It's been a minute. Peace. Shout out to the good brother, Wesley Muhammad. Me and Red just did an extraordinary interview with the good brother Wesley. I highly recommend that you guys go and check the replay out over at Know the Ledger 44. I'll drop some information in my I'll put it right here, matter of fact. youtube.com/Know the Ledger. (444) Tree Fours. Know the Ledger. Thank you. Interview was fire. I definitely felt that way. It was unprecedented, extraordinary build that we had with the good brother. You know what I'm saying? You can check that out on the YouTube over at Know the Ledge 44, right? And it was a profound conversation that we had. We were able to open up the floodgates and speak about a topic that's near and dear to us, and that is the weaponization of hip-hop, against the masses, if you will, right? We spoke about the CIA control of hip-hop, and we spoke about the corporate influences of it, specifically intersecting the small hats that are manipulating the puppet strings of hip-hop behind the scenes. Continuing the conversation that we had on Black Magic 363 about an article released by a investigative journalist named Whitney Webb, and she did a deep dive into the connections between Diddy and Epstein, right? And also a more expansive, comprehensive look on the relationship between mafia and music. The intersectionality between the mafia and music, right? All of which are very interesting topics. And again, this is also a way that we can segue directly, utilizing this topic into what I want to speak about this afternoon. And that is dandyism. Yes, the Waxner, definitely in Ohio. Leslie Waxner, who was the CEO of Victoria's Secret, and the one that's connected to them other dudes is at Abercrombie and Fitch, that are locked up now for SA and things of that nature. So yes, a rat line that goes all the way back to the Zionist state of where, dealing with the who people. God damn it. So yeah, like I said, we went there. It was an extraordinary bill. We got a lecture coming out on the 21st, May 31st, should I say, with our good brother, Dr. Wesley. This is going to be like collegiate level, you know what I'm saying? High grade, collegiate level information will be disseminated when we do our presentation on the 31st. You know what I mean? Dr. Wesley Muhammad is a scholar, bar none, one of the most premier scholars in the world, as far as I'm concerned, and definitely one of the top three when it comes to hip-hop, the history, Somebody asks, have you seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Still need that Sandman TV decoded. They coming out. Okay, I'm gonna provide the Sandman TV series decoded because I have a lot of notes on that already. I embodied a character in 2000. Before I became Blue Pill, I was P. Morpheus. And P. Morpheus came from the byline that I used when I was writing as a journalist. My name was P. Moore, and that's short for Paul Moreland. That's my name that my mama gave me, right? But P. Moore became P. Morpheus. So I was embodying that energy for a while, and then I had to research actually who Morpheus was. You know what I'm saying? Because channeling and tapping into that frequency, adopting the name comes with all of the stuff attached to the name as well. We just can't be picking up people's energy and not knowing what we are encompassing. So when I did the research on Morpheus, Morpheus is Sandman. Morpheus is the father of dope, of heroin. Morpheus is a heroin entity, and is connected to opioids, and its sons is nightmare and like fear or some crazy shit like that. These are Greek mythologies, right? These are quote unquote deities and entities that come from different mythologies and pantheons, and they come with all of their attachments, right? Because you're not getting part of the story. You're getting the whole story. And again, they don't tell us, and we don't really deep dive and go a little bit further to say who are these entities that we're aligning ourselves with if we adopt these names, right? Or we're parroting, these names, but we're not being mindful of what these names are attached to. So, the reason why I definitely have some bars, to decode the TV series of Sandman is because Sandman is another name for Morpheus. And again, in Morpheus, in the Greek mythology, Morpheus is the god of dreams. You know what I'm saying? And he has his children, his seeds are sleep and nightmare. Okay? He's the son of hypnosis, right? Which is quote unquote hypnosis, and it has a direct connection and tying to dope, to opioids. You know what I'm saying? And that concept of the opioids and the morphine, right? Hence the fact, the root word of more or Morpheus and morphine, they share the same MOR of more, right? The dream state is a quote unquote, it doesn't necessarily look, this is deep, because this is where they intersect or intertwine the meaning of what more is. And I don't know if I'm getting this download in real time, but the intersection is that black means death, right? And black also means black. Whereas if you look at more, you could say etymologically it means quote unquote black as well. But it also is associated with sleeping or somatic death, right? So somatic death is when you go to sleep at night. Every night we experience what's called somatic death. We die to be reborn in the morning, hence the fact that it's called morning, right? Somatic death. So another word for Morpheus, okay, another word for Morpheus is actually somnus or somna, right? Somatic, somnus, right? Somna. So, I love sleeping too. That's another reason why I resonated very strongly with that moniker. My initials are PM. So even though I kept long, late nights, you know what I'm saying? I definitely love sleeping as well. I prided it. Peace, God.
Still up anything?
Huh?
You gonna be here for a minute?
I'm doing it live. You good?
Okay.
You do what you do your thing. Just
Looking good, bro.
be mindful. Thank you, brother. So yeah, come on in. Close the door. Come on in. Thank you. So, good brother gave me, what I'm saying, some well-earned and rewarded compliments. He said, you look good brother. And I made sure that I had to put my dandy look on today, you know what I'm saying? Because they out here talking about the dandy movement and the dandelions, and I'm like, yo, you know what I'm saying? I was hearing what she was saying. I realized, I was like, oh, so what we were doing in the streets of Brooklyn when we was boosting in the 80s and the 90s, reappropriating what we considered to be top tier fashion, regal fashion, the people who were attempting to dehumanize us and look down on us, they were wearing Hermes, they were wearing Armani, they were wearing Bulgari, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
They were shopping in Bergdorf Goodman, Bloomingdale's, and the Polo Mansion. So that's where we went, and we participated in retail reparations because they got overpriced cotton. Look, the same way that y'all finding out what y'all finding out about China today, or about designer with China, we knew that, at least I knew it in my spirit, dealing with Polo.
Yes. Remember Guess?
George Marciano,
Yes.
which was Guess, Nautica, right? All of it was overpriced.
Super.
And when Hilfiger came, he took advantage of that. You know what I'm saying? That preppy look that was overpriced, that was utilized almost as a demarcation line between us. It was almost like the invisible tracks. Y'all niggas stay over there, and we over here with our shit. Levi's wasn't overpriced. They don't have no problem with you rocking Levi's, but they didn't expect to see us in Polo. It wasn't respected, right? And then they went from fearing us to being in awe of us because we wore it better than them. But the whole point was don't pay for it. Or you're not a dandy. You're not reappropriating the culture if you make a purchase just to flip it to get fly and fresh in front of crackers. That you're not going to be respected for that.
Nah.
No. We like, yeah, we in front of you stunting with stolen shit on. That's different. And then they was in awe. Some of them even hired us as stylists or shoppers. You know what I'm saying? Some of them opened their world up to us because we overcame them with style. Because style is a means of warfare as well. Hence why you think they call it wardrobe. Right? We doing the
Live feed.
Yeah, just make sure you close that door.
yes, sir. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And this is
So let me get, if
Hold
you
on.
can, sir, what is the proper name for this movement that you were talking about with the DAP?
dandy.
The dandy and
Yeah.
it's a reappropriation. I want to be clear on that because that was an excellent thought right there.
Yeah, it's a reappropriation of culture. You know what I'm saying? It's a reappropriation of she called it opposition fashion. You know what I'm saying? You're utilizing something that was originally created not with you in mind, and specifically as a demarcation, something that will potentially separate you from the quote unquote the elite, these particular masses. That's like, yeah, we're gonna utilize this particular piece of clothing to signal our value while attempting to devalue these people, and they're relegated to threads, right? So we're gonna play that game where we're attempting to lay value in a person based on how they show up or how they look,
That's right.
right? But again, they were working a very thorough job on our identity politics leading up to this to begin with, because every day in school they're telling you that you're a piece of shit and you're not worthy and you don't come from nothing, and your people pick cotton. So you feel ashamed, you know what I'm saying, about the fact that you got holes in your cotton. That your people pick cotton, but your cotton looks shabby and shit. You gotta share pants with your bro. You know what I mean?
Now you talking real shit.
Yeah, niggas are snatching the leaf patches off of you. I mean, it was just a lot of different violations, and nobody wanted to feel dirty. Nobody wanted to look dirty or feel dirty. So the level up was like, you know, people were doing whatever they had to do to put themselves in a outer clothing that expressed their inner feelings about themselves, if they really felt that way about themselves. Where the youngsters that I grew up with, they looked at themselves and they felt regal about who they were in their existence. And they wanted something to reflect that. So the minute that either one, they got some money, right? Because a lot of them started hustling. Or two, that they got tired of not having, and they took that anger out and went up in them stores and dealt with what we call retail reparations. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm gonna extract this from this, you know, and do something else with it, you know, more appropriate. So it was the reappropriation of particular items and you know, a sense of fashion that was meant to separate us from what's considered to be elite by relegating us to the thread bin. And we like, nah, we not finna be in the thread bin. You know what I'm saying? We're going to take this westernized approach towards fashion, reappropriate it, and show up in a way where you can no longer ignore us. You got to deal with us. Not just our identity. Now you got to deal with the fact that, you know what I'm saying? We can't be ignored because we putting this thing together. We coordinating. And it's called a wardrobe for a reason, because they're going to what? Family. They're going to judge you on your appearance. They're going to judge you on your first appearance. So the way that you do a war against, because what? We're suffering from an image, quote unquote, crisis, right? So if we understand the stock that initially went into image, right? Even as children, we were carrying on a dandy approach towards reintroducing our image. Allowed me to reintroduce myself. So we were utilizing fashion to rehumanize ourselves in the face of people who refuse to see us as human. Right. And this is the desperation initially of identity politics, where we was forced to do these certain things to insert ourselves into the conversation, right? To be looked upon, to be identified as worthy of even being part of the conversation. We knew that we was way more savvier than them. And this is in the North. So I'm talking about our orientation is with a different European. Left guys, you got the mobsters, you feel me? Then you got the gangsters, right? And then, you know, you got that Upper West Side, Upper East Side, upper crust. You know, you got their fake sense of nobility. They are hummer stunting in the city that your ancestors built. Living across the street from Seneca Village that your ancestors was once part of. And got the nerve to thumb their nose at you. And then it was taking place by first generation immigrants, the Irish, the Jews, and the Italians. They just came over here, and you looking down on us, and you attempting to utilize material possessions to drive a stronger wedge between, oh, they not like us, attempting to dehumanize the people who are not necessarily, you know, running side to side with you in the race, right? We're getting outpaced in the race. And then comes along hip hop, right? As a viable vehicle that can now be utilized to take us across tracks that we've never been across. You feel me? And we cannot ignore the early introduction or the importance of style and fashion in hip hop in its early years, in its beginning stages, because again, the wardrobe or the outfits tell you a story. And if we want to know who we were, what we were into, what our influences were, we can look directly at the article of clothing, at the style, at the fashion, how our people were expressing themselves and how they were introducing themselves to the world. That tells you a lot what was going on with their mind. You know what I'm saying? That tells you a lot. And we had access to a lot of information. You feel me? Yes. So it it was just one of those realities that we had to take full advantage of when the opportunity presented itself. And of what's considered to be black style. They call it the black dandy. You know what I'm saying? Again, I see a connection. I see some aspects of similarities, but I also see a strong disconnect, right? And that's definitely what I can speak to was exploding on the scene, you know what I mean, all of yesterday as we bore witness to the Met Gala and the unleashing in the Met Gala of, some very interesting styles. And we seen some misses, and we seen some people land a plane. What I find very interesting is that how this cultural redux or this revisit to what's considered to be, the origins of black culture in this country, melanated culture, Moorish culture, whatever, it's all interact and intertwined, and it all tells a story if you can properly, unravel it. You know what I'm saying? So when this movie Sinners is now introducing this particular time period and the look that went along with it, the juke joints, you know what I'm saying? That's when they was into their actual dandy look or what have you. So these time periods are back. They're dealing with the 20s and the 30s. We are revisiting those times in this current epoch that we're in, the roaring 20s. We're right back where we left. So it's just an amazing opportunity once again to see ourselves through the lens of, not antiquated history, but culture. You know what I'm saying? But through culture. You feel me? Yeah, again, I'm sure we saw some obvious misses at the show yesterday with the dandies and what have you. But, that gives you the audacity. You step forward. You make it look and do what it do. You know what I'm saying? I ain't see nobody. I ain't see throngs of people running to fill up the Idlewilds. Niggas wasn't running to claim that genre. They wasn't looking to snatch that crown. You feel me? They wasn't doing it. So, somebody else comes along and does it, and we're going to be in our feelings, right? Because they had a lot of goofy shit on that carpet that was showing up, presenting itself in representation of black fashion. Granted, you know what you're going to get. The industry of fashion has been hijacked, so you already know what it is. It don't make sense crying and complaining. We just got to do better. We have to project it in what the image is that we want to see. Right? So the show is inspired by the work of Monica Miller, a professor and chair of Africana Studies at Bernard College, and her books, Slave to Fashion, Black Dandyism and the Styling of Black Diasporic Identity. That's the book that they utilized to curate this particular Met Gala. And then there's a show, I think, that's going to be extended. It's going to be showing, and they just extended the time period that they'll have it at the Met. Of black identities in the Atlantic diaspora. So again, this is not everybody's pleasure point. You know what I mean? If this ain't got nothing to do with you, then don't fuck with it. You know what I mean? Go do something else. But for people that are very interested in the origins of fashion and they understand the interplay that fashion has, even those that understand the deeper principles of the connection between fashion and fascism, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Ashra Kwesi and Mary Kwesi. She has a whole lecture series that she breaks that down. And she takes you all the way back to Kemet right? Even here, we can fast forward and make a very interesting observation, right? When the movie Sinners is dealing with and delving into this whole concept of the blues and blues originating in the Mississippi Delta area, right? But specifically being tied to Memphis. And you know that Memphis has this concept of blues. But then when you look at the movie and you see the color Hank blue, right? And you understand this whole concept of where Hank blue comes from. But then when you go and you tie in Kemet and you understand that Memphis and Kemet, right, also resonates with the energy of blue. This is where indigo blue comes from. They mastered the whole principle on how to actually curate and make the color blue, because it doesn't originate in nature. You have to curate that. So on the same coast, right, the Mississippi Delta and the Nile River Delta, in both places called Memphis, they generated what? This concept of this particular blue, and this blue kills and keeps away demons and vampires. And the reason that they curated initially and created this color blue was for the purposes of fashion and textile, right? It was for makeup, and it was for them to make drip. The same thing, the same stories about purple, right? The same shit go along with it. It's the same story, but it's talking about blue. You feel me? And it's no coincidence that those particular overlapping similarities are just jutting out at us, so we can't ignore them, right? They're right there. It can't be ignored. It's just not a coincidence. It's resonating with that color blue. And that color blue definitely goes into our antiquated choices for fashion throughout the years. I mean, throughout not the years, but the millennia. You know what I'm saying? We can never get away from who we are. It's not hard to tell who we are. You just got to see the things that we do that come natural to us. Right? Yeah, I mean, yes or no is I'm freestyling, I'm making it up. What am I doing? Hey. I'm on live. But it's okay. I mean, y'all is in here. We can have a conversation as long as them, heels.
Sit down. They've been down all day.
I mean, we're having a conversation, and y'all are all included. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not speaking about something foreign. It's something that should be near and dear to us. Oh, and I just made a breakthrough, so I repeat it. And this is a genius observation, if I must say so myself. And that don't mean that I'm a genius, right? But I put the Danny look on today because we're speaking about fashion, and we're speaking about, a friend of mine called it oppositional fashion. So it's fashion that we employed in opposition to whatever the hierarchical order was that attempted to tether their identity in fashion as if, oh, they're threads because they're threaded, and allegedly we wasn't. That makes them better than us. Knowing damn well that they got fashion from us. Check this out. They will borrow our fashion symbols, put it on fashion, utilize one of us to advertise or market it, attract our sisters to go and buy it, then treat our sisters like shit.
Real talk. That's real.
Yeah.
Right?
I took this one.
What does that look like?
Yep.
Louis Vuitton will borrow the motifs and the symbols directly from West Africa, put it on a drip. Versace will borrow the bars directly from West Africa, not the Romans, put it on drip, right? Utilize one of us like a Naomi Campbell to advertise this, or a imam to advertise it, to become the face, the standard of beauty, while telling us that it's goddamn Kate Moss when it ain't. And then when it resonates with a woman who idealizes themselves, not idolizes, idealizes themselves after people who they identify with on these screens, and then they say, look, you upsold me the product because that's what you were doing, modeling it. I could see you in it, so I could see me in it. And then we take our hard-earned to go to these places that have threads for inflated prices based on our own motifs. They're upselling and overselling our stuff back to us. And when we have the nerve to show up enthusiastically, right, and splurge with the card, then they treat you like you there stealing.
Exactly.
And they stole the whole swag initially to get you into the whole parody, just to devalue you when you get there. Because I think for them, that's the payment.
That's the payment.
That we're following people who slept in barns and they're telling us they're the standard of fashion. How, Sway, when the Moors showed up in silk?
Exactly.
When we had an entire Silk Road trade. Nigga, where do you think it came from? Huh? Where do you think it came from? They talking about Italian reptilians. Nigga, they don't got gators in Italy. They don't have gators in Italy, my genius. Right? All of that come from the continent. So we find ourselves, volunteering for whoredom. With the things that we consistently find ourselves, going back and doing, even when we got more information that informs us that this is a bad transaction. So now we have a very small window with our people getting the truth about foreign designers, right? This resurgence and us loving ourselves with these stories that are being told about our origin stories. So there's a small window for melanated designers to get their thing off and connect directly with their people, right? What would we look like if Bespoke was the wave again? What would we look like if we stopped going to the zombie clubs and we was going back to juke joints again? You know what I'm saying? What would we look like if we was partying and not letting in the vampires? So, yeah, we're living in some very interesting times right now, and it is offering us, the ability to make life-altering decisions for ourselves. And these decisions that we're making for us are ultimately for everyone else as well. Because somebody got to put this out-of-control child in his place. Because he is going across the planet just wrecking shop. And it's being done in our name. You feel me? This is a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to see ourselves and see, again, what separates us from them. They not like us. They'll never be like us. How dare we allow them to run with fashion once again? And they got the weirdest of fashion, and they have the weirdest taste, and they have the weirdest ideas of how to stylize us on these stages to, they cannot help themselves from exploiting. They cannot help them from fetishizing us, our body, and our swag. These are people who are literally running around the world with your cosmic robe on, which is inclusive of your birthright. It's stitched in right here. They're like, yeah, this shit goes to you, and this is the instructions. This is not the drying instructions. These are the surviving instructions. They running around the whole globe with your cosmic robe on. And then got the nerve, right, to want to attempt to dictate how you physically put your outer shell on. And again, your outfit is your wardrobe, because your outer shell, that is what the people see first. Yes, you are going to be judged on first impressions. So the way that you battle against an image of you that's non-correct is that you what? Show up proper, and you confuse them when they see you initially and they're forced to ask questions. Now, I've seen this happen in real life, in my own life. You know what I'm saying? There's something very garlic to the vampire about stepping. Like when your threads is totally threaded and you step in with it the way that you're supposed to, you slay demons. They just don't be saying that the women is slaying because it sounds cute. Etherically, on the ethereal realm, they're slaying. Because they're cutting cords of all preconceived notions about who they are and how they're supposed to show up. And they're confusing the ops. They're scrambling them. They're lost to acts. They abandon their shit real quick and be like, so what are you wearing? What are you wearing? And where can I get it from? Oh, that. And they want to start touching. That's the breakdown. You can see it right there. When they break protocol and they got to touch you after that, that's when you cook them. That's when they've lost their cool. That's when they have tipped over the line and they can no longer control themselves. And if you're skillful, that's when you can spin them. Give me y'all twitch. Don't want to get nobody in trouble here. But, you know, again, these are skillful tactics. They were utilized by people who I knew their pettiness at a young age, and I was able to manipulate that in their highest of stores. You know what I'm saying? To just get into their heads, because that's where they exist. They exist in their heads. They don't live nowhere else but in their heads and in your head. And the minute that you evict them and you put that, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, your credit will never get it. You can't come back here. Then you get to really start seeing them for who they are. But as long as they reside in your brain and they reside in your mind, you know what I mean? Your behind is compelled to follow the leader. You got to get your mind back. And fashion plays a very big role in that, because our identity has been denuded. So a lot of people put that outer layer of identity on them to give them value. And that was one hell of a game that they played on us. That your skin is not enough, that you got to have a layer of foreign on in order to be valued. And I seen people do something strange for some change. I seen them do some things strange for some change. You know? Before Donna Karen jeans, I go back. I'm talking about Izod and shit. I seen them do something strange for change through every fashion trend. You know what I mean? But I really saw people tether their entire identity to a piece of clothing. And you know, what happens when you take that cloth from them? Then the emperor has no clothes. So it's not hard to see how the things that have happened happen. And also, it comes full circle. Like I said, it's no coincidence that they started Diddy's trial on 5/5, which is Cinco de Mayo, and this trial is sponsored by Diego, which is the spirit company, right? But Puff became the propagator and the promoter of all things material. You know what I'm saying? When the game just went super capitalistic and just ultra materialistic, you know, that's what happened to the game. And I see the direct infusion, because the fashion was influenced directly in that camp, because Biggie was getting all his fashion tip from boosters off of Fulton Avenue. It was these young women in particular, right, who was telling him what the styles and the trends was. It wasn't Puff. It was Big, and he influenced Puff to put on Versace. So they brought in the Jesus piece. They brought in, you know what I mean, the high-end brands, and the mentality of consumerism went along with it. And it was just crash consumerism. It was everything is all about the Benjamins. So in 95, I believe that was the year. No, they're saying it was 97, that it was a hot 97 event when Puff locked out Wu-Tang at Summer Jam. I feel like it was 95, but nonetheless, that's when the shift and the transition took place. You know what I mean? So you could even account with Puff as effectively killing off the last remnant of conscious hip-hop in quote-unquote New York. Because once he clipped the wings of Wu-Tang, you feel me, in the city, that clipped the wings of Wu-Tang damn near everywhere else. It neutralized them. And they ain't been the same since. So it's very interesting, you know what I mean, that all of this stuff, they would have the Dandy Day. Because when you even think about Dandy, you think about Bensley Farnsworth. Bensley Farnsworth. So he said Wu-Tang was done for mainstream after that second album. All right, Champagne, Godbody. So that was, again, I believe that was 97. Because I remember I got locked up the day that album came out. It might have been the next day. Because I heard the album, and on the way back from Boston, I got pulled over on the highway. And long story. And so that was around 97. But I remember being at that concert. Anyway, long story short, the album didn't do so great, but they still was getting fake love from New York radio, right? They tried to stunt on Puff at his show, at a Hot 97 show, because they wasn't getting the vibes from the crowd. The crowd only came to see ODB. They didn't want to hear the consciousness. They wanted to party and bullshit. And ODB was the person that I identified most with. This is how I remember it. You feel me? And they try to stun on Big and them. I mean, they're not Big because Big wasn't there. They try to stun on Puff. And Puff was on his campaign. And he was like, yo, they try to front. Like, well, he didn't say it on stage because they tried to stun on him on stage, I guess, afterwards. You know, he told Hot 97, y'all got to make a decision. You know, if y'all rock with me, y'all can't pump with them no more. No more on the radio. And, yeah, it was a wrap. So he pushed them over the edge. The low album or the album or what have you gave them the impetus. You know what I mean? They just wasn't that hot no more, y'all, on New York radio. I don't care what sort of numbers they were selling throughout the country or the world. They were no longer, you know what I'm saying? They were no longer, they didn't own the paradigm. And the paradigm was up for grabs during that time. It was being shifted. And Raekwon and them, yeah, they overstepped, tried to play the mafia role. And as you can see, you know, Bad Boy was really in bed, you know, with the mafia. There was really no way. Yeah, they shut that down quick. They couldn't compete. But, you know, yeah, it was just, and again, that all of that deals with fashion. So when the new regime comes in, it's like the new administration, right? The new administration came in and they did away with all of the old stuff, and then they started reformatting and reframing what this is what we doing and this is how we doing it. You feel me? And they played it the same way. When they came in with the shiny suit, they came in with the Jesus piece, they came in with the 2 earrings in the ear, they came in with the over excessive use of jewelry, right? The over indulgence of it, the over consumerism. You got 20 pairs of Air Force Ones and shit like that. It wasn't like that prior to that. New York was grimy. Niggas still had scuffed Timbs. They had, you know, motherfucking camouflage suits and all of that. Army jacket linings and all of that. Dig what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, the observation into fashion and the history of fashion and hip-hop is a very interesting observation, and it took a very distinct direction. You feel me? And, yeah, I'm gonna definitely be looking more into what they talking about. You know what I mean, with this whole dandy movement. You feel me? Shout out to Dapper Dan. Shout out to Red Pill. You know what I'm saying? Because he was consulting with that brother Dapper Dan some years back on some of those designs that I seen him pop out with. You feel me? I seen him pop out with them designs, Red, that you was discussing with him and giving him the impetus to stand on culture, to stand on his own identity. You know what I mean? Shout out to Red, you know, for really pushing that line. Because it looked like it set in. Because he was rocking his Sankofa on the blue carpet yesterday, shutting it down. Shout out to Andre 3000, who showed up to that bitch with a whole piano in his back. You know what I'm saying? He shut shit down. That was kind of crazy. You feel me? I haven't seen too much drip that I want to talk about. Yeah, the Adinkra symbols. You know what I mean? High fashion Adinkra symbols is what my guy, Dapper Dan, showed up with. You feel me? Yeah, I ain't seen too many people that killed the look and crushed it. I'm gonna go back and look some more. But we definitely got to keep the conversation moving. We're about to have a blowout fashion show right here in the A at the Bookstore Gallery. I'll be dropping a flyer soon. But we want to highlight melanated designers. We want to highlight top tier fashion from our people while we have this small window. You know what I mean? Even brothers and sisters amongst us to make bags, to make high-end bags and shoes for our sisters. Now is the time to get your product in front of the people and force them to make a decision. Look, I'll show you what they talking about. They talking about it right now. They like, yo, this shit is a wrap. They like the tariffs is crazy, right? They just got a ship that just shipped out with the 145% tariffs from China. The ship is only half full. They closing mad factories. This nigga's bleeding the whole world. Don't let them lie to you. The repercussions is rippling already. Them niggas might have the poker face online, but they taking a hit. They taking a whole hit. You know what I'm saying? We need to galvanize and run down on this shit while it's bent over and take back fashion that's made here in this country. That's the way that it's gonna work. You can't go overseas no more for the drip. Now, one of our folks can be mindful enough to fly over and try to fly something back or reposition shit, but what better incentive but to get the thread that's made right here, you feel me, in this country by melanated or indigenous designers, point blank, period. Right? We have the power to do this. It's within us. So we want to have a fashion show here at the Bookstore Gallery. If you are a high-end designer or you know one that may want to be involved, definitely have them DM us. We already got some thorough, solid entries, you feel me? But we're looking to expand the vision, and we're going to put it on our TV network, you know what I mean? So this is not just going to be something that's physical. We're going to have you on the tube, you know what I mean? And again, yeah, we broadcast all around the world, right? 200 plus channels. Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, right? ConnectToYourCity.com, KTO Plus. Let's get to it. Shout out to my brother Pop Darby. He definitely has told us, you know, utilizing the Unity app. You know what I mean? Unity is wealth. And this brother has the quote unquote, the systems, the mathematical systems about how we can galvanize a do-for-self support system. Brother Red with the Facts Initiative has amazing systems and figures about how we can galvanize a do-for-self system amongst us to push the line, right? The toy market is going to be explosive coming, quote-unquote, in the Christmas season, right? Mattel CEO says toy manufacturing won't come to America, but price hikes will. So they already are seeing a deficit, and they know that the toys are not going to make it over here. This is the time to consign 3D printers, and it's time for us to press up toys that speak directly to what it is that we want to see, things that we want to put on our mantle, or activities that we want to see our children participating in. Let's give them new heroes. You know what I'm saying? Let's give them new heroes. You feel me? The 3D printers are the answer right now. I don't want to give up too much game, but I'm like, yo, y'all, this is totally doable. And it's silver lining involved. We should be holding our chest and our chin up, looking to the sky, saying thank you for this opportunity. Once again, you have dropped something in our lap. And if we are with our head down, woe was me, sobbing and shit about somebody else's problem or expressing somebody else's pain point, we're going to miss the golden goose. We're going to miss the golden goose. The universe is pushing culture in your favor every single day. If you would sit back and just look at it, right? If you would just sit back and look at it, you like, damn, because niggas is not doing nothing physically to combat the erasure and the administration putting their motherfucking foot on you. But the universe is conspiring for you to push back. The universe is conspiring for your success. You know what I'm saying? The universe is putting you in a position that if you so wanted to do for self, you can do that. We know that our people have allocated $1.7 trillion to various different industries, majority, if not all of which are contingent and dependent upon foreign support, meaning that the hair industry, they got to get that stuff from overseas, right? All of them chemically laced toxic toys and stuff that we complain about, they got to get that from overseas. Look, if you are a digital content creator or you make music, music is tariff proof. Salute, right? But system, if you train children right here in this country, your business is tariff proof. If your business is in the people, your business is tariff proof. If your business is what Pop Darby got, right? And it's dealing with systems, galvanizing and organizing people to show them not only is the power in numbers, but specifically how you can activate it utilizing verifiable systems. Your business is tariff proof. Your business is tariff proof. I'll say it again. If you're content creators and you create content in the digital realm, your business is tariff proof, right? And if you're a content creator in Ghana and you're listening to this, and if you're a content creator in Nigeria and you're listening to this, guess what? We can do direct business with no middleman digitally across digital rails, and that's tariff proof. So once again, as manufacturers who make things out of thin air, the universe has once again conspired for your success to put you in a position where you can accelerate to the front of the line and close this wealth gap in an accelerated amount of time. But we got to be unified, and we have to see ourselves as worthy of being endowed with providence, right? Every single time that they push our people into a situation that looks to be, not in our favor, we get pushed into providence and we be complaining about it. We get pushed into providence and end up complaining about it. Case in point, they found gold here in North Georgia, right? Created the Indian Removal Act, went and did all kind of sucker shit. We got their legislation. This is why they was getting whooped in the South. I would say to this day, right? I would say to this day, because we still know what happened. They ain't get rid of all of us, right? The Maroons are still here. So they couldn't get us out of Georgia and they couldn't get us out of Florida. And they was getting whooped in the Carolinas. But they were able to drive a contingency of us off of the land, and they call that the Trail of Tears, right? And they pushed those people, right, through the trail. And ultimately, where do they end up? They end up in Oklahoma, or what they call Indian Territory, right? So they drive you off of land that has gold in it. North Georgia, right here in the North Georgia hills, right? They found gold in those hills before they did on the West Coast. And then they push you into Oklahoma where you're supposed to be in barren land, but they find oil. So they push carbonated people off of land that has gold to land that has oil. And you don't see that as providence? You don't see that as providence? That regardless of what they attempt to do with you and where they attempt to push you at and what position that you find yourself in, you never are without the Most High. You are never without the Lord. You are never without the blessings and the benefactions and the ability to rewrite your story, right? We don't see that in ourselves. We don't see we again. We will make songs about survivors, but we would not savor surviving. Right? We would not savor surviving. And what does that look like? I almost drowned before. And immediately, what I did after that is I taught myself how to swim like an Olympic swimmer so I could never experience those close calls once again. Because my life I valued too much. And I remember that shit felt very weird about to die. It was very uncomfortable, right? So I went and got the education. I went and got the know-how so I can make sure that I would never find myself in a situation like that again. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing that should be taking place if we find ourselves in a predicament where we were taken advantage of because we didn't know or we didn't have all of the information in order to insulate ourselves from abuse. You would think that, yeah, that you're going to teach it to yourself and then epigenetically you're going to pass it to your children and they'll be born knowing to never fall for this trick again because it could have took us out. And the evolutionary aspects of ourselves say that, you know, we have to override all challenges, right? Generation after generation after generation, because we are thoroughly in, you know, on a battlefield. We're thoroughly in an engagement in the theater of war at all times. Something is always moving on the board attempting to take us out. So we would have to know, if you survive that you will fortify yourself so you don't have to be a survivor. You want to be a thriver. You want to be a builder. You know what I'm saying? You just don't want to live your life saying, yeah, I just repaired things all my life. I just patched things up. When did you build something from scratch? Did you have the opportunity to do that? Did you have the opportunity to leave something behind that you actually built from scratch? These are the things that aggressively, you know, and actively we have the opportunity to work towards. But I think that it's even more so now, even more so in our benefit, if we utilize this short amount of time in this window to say we could catapult ourselves to greatness, because major industries have been disrupted. The toy industry is disrupted. The fashion industry is disrupted. The music industry is disrupted. The media industry is disrupted. The medicine industry is disrupted. Housing is disrupted. History is disrupted. Education has been disrupted. Yes, and the black inventors had to go against so much more. You feel me? So much more. We should not be even looking for an excuse. Only thing we should be looking for is a window to get through, crawl through, slide through, climb through, jump through, whatever. Feel me? We have everything that it takes. I don't know if it's that we're separate and we don't get to talk enough with one another to remind one another that we got it or what it is, but we need to do that more often if that's the case, so we can have a unified mind, so we can move as a unit and get things done that much more quicker. We have an amazing opportunity and a window of time that we should activate and get to it. We have to be resourceful for the things that we can access right here in America in terms of manufacturing, right? And they got to take a different approach to how they talking about manufacturing, because you're not looking to exploit labor. You feel me? And we can build these bridges diasporically and do business with the rest of the world without the permission. We don't got to invite them. They said it's no more DEI. So we ain't got to act like there ain't got to be no devils involved. We don't even got to play nice no more. But we have to be willing to take advantage of the opportunities in front of us and not remain idle to be taken advantage of. So I don't want to keep y'all too long. I definitely want to say thank you for your time, your attention. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, with your permission, you know, to have this conversation with you, because you just don't jump in people's timelines and just start dropping shit like this. So I want to say thank you again, you know, for pulling up, and hopefully we can allow ourselves to see this thing for what it is. You know what I mean? And rise above anything that we consider to be debilitating or limiting. Shout out to Dr. Wesley Muhammad. We just did an amazing presentation with him on Know the Ledger 444, should I say. The address is right under here. Highly recommend that. It was a collegiate level class that we put on, right here on the tube. And it is advertising an upcoming lecture that all three of us have on May 31st. That, again, is going to be standardized, collegiate level, high tier, top tier, out of this world. You feel me? It's just gonna be a bomb fest, man. We really came to work, and I'm honored. I've been waiting for the opportunity, to not only validate our brother's scholarship, not only accommodate our brother's scholarship, you know what I mean? But I have so many notes from so many years of just taking notes to his work, and not being able, we haven't caught up with our good brother in a minute. So yeah, it's like I'm ready to get some work done, because I know where Wesley Muhammad's passion is. You know what I'm saying? And I know that we, with this conversation, can really open some eyes and ring some bells, right? And with that, I want to say, once again, I appreciate you. Thank you. Yes, it was an instant classic. It was too easy. That's what I'm saying. We work together too well. It was too easy. It's way too much ground to cover. I'm looking at probably like a encyclopedia level type of book might have to come out of this. You know what I'm saying? So I'm ecstatic. I look forward to this in the most wondrous way possible. And shout out to Red. We did the Saints and Sinners lecture. And I've been very vocal about this. Like, I'll do a lecture and afterwards the floodgates open. Like the day up, not even the day up, like right after I get off the lecture. First I forget about the stuff that I ain't covered. You know what I mean? And then I get a little heavy on myself. But then the floodgates open. And stuff just start pouring in. And this lecture is no different. So I'm going to be doing an amended, like, I'm going to make my own, I'm going to do the lecture. I'm going to do an updated version of this lecture that I just did on Saturday, because already I got like a whole nother lecture. You feel me? I already got like a whole nother lecture, and I just want to add on. I want to be cinematic. I want to be very deliberate in the way that I'm laying this narrative out, because it's very important to me, because it's intertwined with eschatology and theology and philosophy and really, spirituality, magic, So, I can't wait. I'm going to, we did the lecture, but I'm going to do another presentation. It's going to play out like a video essay, y'all. And I have my time so I can really get into my editing bag. I'm really in love with editing. If y'all haven't seen or heard from me in a minute, it's because I've been editing. You know what I'm saying? I'm a full-time editor in the middle of being full-time everything else. Okay, I'll check the inbox. But yeah, like the brother said, you might have caught him on YouTube, we'll be doing readings here at the bookstore gallery of Wesley Muhammad's book leading up to our May 31st lecture. You know what I mean? He has an anthology on the hip-hop theorem. You dig what I'm saying? So we'll be doing readings here. I'll do them online. We'll probably do an hour of reading on the IG and the tube. People can physically come in here, and we'll also be doing readings of the book leading up into this lecture. I really want this to be the premier location that people come and do their book drops and their debuts at and everything, because it's a whole bookstore, and it's a concession. What's the word I'm looking for? Consumption lounge. A consumption lounge. Can I put the light on you real quick?
Yeah.
My brother, yeah, he over there consuming right now. My brother, my guy's over there because it's a consumption lounge. So, you know, they outside consuming. It's a lot of consumption taking place in real time. You know what I'm saying? But also, we're going to be doing a top tier fashion show here. And I want to put the word out. If you are a designer or if you know one or what have you, please have them holler at us. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, we're gonna make it make sense. You know what I mean? If they don't make the first show, we're definitely gonna have a follow show. But we have a quarterly magazine that's coming out as well. And those slots may have been filled for this first quarter in terms of the fashion ads. But we got the TV. Y'all gonna go up there. We're gonna shoot a high-end 4K fashion show, and it's gonna be on TV right in our people's living room with the QR code so they could go direct to designer. You can deal directly with the designer. You don't gotta go through no middleman. You know what I'm saying? We want to democratize the whole process and get people exactly what they want in real time. And I got a social monetization platform that I want to come back and do a whole separate live on. It's called Yap It. You can go and check it out in the App Store. You could literally get paid to post, y'all. You could get paid to post now. You don't got to be over here doing this shit for free. You know what I mean? And it's a monetization platform. So you could set up a digital marketplace. You could even set up your own OF on it if you wanted to. I'm just saying. It's a social digital monetization platform that's made by us, from us, for us. You feel me? So we ain't got nothing but solutions pouring up out of us. I got all kind of shit that we was working on for the last 6, 7, 8 months that we'll be debuting project by project, piece by piece. But we fully stocked, my family. We fully stocked. We fully loaded. We definitely ready to go. You know what I'm saying? Shots fired. And with that, I want to say peace, love, and light. You know what I'm saying?